so I was having a conversation with some friends of mine a couple of days ago, and one of the guys' contention was that he was reading something that was talking about the fact that the boy child is at great risk in South Africa. That boy children don't have the support that they need. They pretty much quote unquote are abandoned, etc., etc. So, would you sort of agree with that statement? Yes or no? Looking not only at the context of your own upbringing, but also kind of like what's going on at this point in time.
Yeah, I think I agree. We don't have a lot of conversations around how to be a good man. You know what I'm saying? I think with women, because women normally speak. Elder women, educate younger women. With us guys, it's sometimes a case of nobody's had the conversation of, in terms of what it means to be a man. You're probably also growing in a household where it's like there's no positive, not even positive, there's no male role models. Do you get what I'm saying? So you get then the boy child who's then trying to shape in terms of this idea of being a man through friends, through, I don't know, through whatever he sees on TV, through whatever material he's exposed to. And for him, then he starts forming this context, Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on that? Do you find in the friendships that you have with men and some of the interactions you have with them in a professional sense and also in relationships, it's quite clear to you that that's also the disconnect, or you see it differently?
Yeah, I think with men, I don't know, the value of a man is so narrow. You know what I mean? It's a few things. It's you have a job, you're good. You have what? You have money. It's always surrounded around those little things. Job, money, car, maybe house, nyana.
How sharp?
Yeah,
Sharp,
grand.
yeah.
Lack those and what's going for you. You know what I mean?
Got you.
Whereas I feel like with women, even if we talk about being women and maybe being mothers, but there's a lot of other things that we talk about. You know what I mean? Just think about women. Women talk about church. They talk about, we've got a lot to talk about.
Right.
We've got a lot of things that define us and that build us. With men, I feel like if they lacking, no job, no, I don't know. It's almost as if it's tough, Huh?
Sorry to jump in.
Yeah.
But don't you think that's the way like society is actually, just basically in terms of that's what society expects of a man.
Yes.
And that's why, guys, you may find that guys have such fragile, not even fragile egos, but even no sense of being if these of worth if those things are missing.
You remove that one thing and they just crumble.
Yeah.
People commit suicide. They kill their family, their kids. They kill their wife. They kill themselves. Because they feel like that's all I have to offer. All I am is this man who's a protector. I can't protect without money. I'm not a provider without money. Then what am I? And it is societal. It doesn't come from anywhere. Sure. So I think men need to be very intentional about changing that, evolutionizing how men are viewed. It needs to be intentional. It's not going to disappear, and it's also not women who are going to do it for them. It's not women who are going to stop seeing men as these. It's been like that for forever. You're a provider. You are, a caretaker, I don't know how it's going to be done, but something needs to be done to change the way men see themselves, as more than just that. And then maybe the egos will not be so easily bruised. Because once you touch, or once you disrespect them and they feel like nothing more that avenue, then they feel like they have nothing else to offer. And then maybe that's one of the triggers, your woman working a bigger paycheck, she's living her best life, she's out there with her friends and looking fabulous, looking gorgeous. When a house you're at home, you're jobless, looking after the kids, you feel worthless,
Yeah.
How do we get to see men as more than just that? And how do men also see themselves more than just, a provider? And if I don't have a job, I'm nothing. How do we get to that point?
You Joe? Yeah, I know, bars. I think one of the things, as you mentioning how men see themselves, and it's not women that's going to change that, is you are a father to a girl child now, right? And when I would have had, right? So within the context of what we've just spoken about, what is it that changes in terms of what she then one expects of a man, right, when she gets to that age, and how those expectations and what she knows about men doesn't hinder on her own ambitions, in a way that she mustn't feel like her job is not to threaten a man because she is earning too much money. Because then that just perpetuates the cycle. So I'm just curious to understand in that dynamic, like what your intentional plan is for her as father and as Rakhad.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, and I've been thinking about that for quite a while. Because, I mean, okay, sharp. It's cultural, right? Let's start with the first thing of around families accepting that these kids are in love and they want to start a family. The concept of lobola. For me, I was having a discussion with some friends actually yesterday. Where like some guy came and they were negotiating lobola and came with 40,000 and the family was like, what the hell? You know what I'm saying? And for me, it's a gesture. Lobola is a gesture. So the moment, and I think we once even spoke about it to say that for me, it's a gesture of goodwill, and it starts around there. Okay, the kids are starting out. I mean, if a nigga has about 5,000 rand and whatever, and that's what they want to do, that's it. I think it starts there. I think also secondly, it's just around. I think having conversations with her around saying, yes, man, this is what's happening. But at the end of the day, also how you are raised. I'm not gonna cheat her from being a strong black woman because I want her to be independent. I don't want her to be dependent on any men. But also with how she's then going, when she gets to motherhood and she has boy children, they will see what how their mother was, and that at least starts changing the cycle. Because for me, a lot of things that I saw, and the man that I've become, it's because of my mom. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's maybe it starts with that's how I want the legacy in terms of my family legacy to basically continue.
Got you. And then Rakhadi, I think this name has gotten even stronger since that clip. So with that being in mind, bless us.
Yes, Rakhad. I think to his point, it starts also from the behavior that she observes.
Right.
She'll go and what I took her there and there, but she's gonna carry some of what she's observed from her father. Yes, my father is a man. He does what we think is manly things. He provides for me, and yet my dad will go and whip up an awesome meal. He'll do this, and then for him and for me to also become the way where I don't mind washing my car. Not that I do it, but I wouldn't mind. You know what I mean? I wouldn't mind doing the garden. I really wouldn't mind. There's certain things I wouldn't mind doing because my mom was like that as well. So I think it's from behavior, and more than talking about things with your kids and saying no, you must not allow a man. They'll do what they see. They're most likely to replicate what they see than to action whatever we're now and no, it's more practical when they see it.
Yeah.
So I guess sometimes the influence is as parents, as Borakadi, as society, where if we see something's wrong and we want it to be corrected in the next generation, it's not miraculously just going to become corrected. We need to start with that correction.
Right.
It might not be fully resolved or fully eliminated certain types of behaviors, but trust the next generation will be slightly better.
Yeah.
It might be 1%, 2%, 3%, and then the next generation, it's that thing that change. We always think about change and we hope for change, but it's so overwhelming when you want to think about change as this, change the world, Change your family, change those 4 friends that you always hang with. You're not even changing them, change how you are around them. And then they'll also change how they are around their friends. And then it's a ripple effect. So the same applies to kids, our kids and the next generation.
And you know what? Something I'm thinking about. I mean, we have this thing, especially with the whole thing of being a provider, and being a father. So you more place the importance of being a provider and equating that to fatherhood, where you end up having a lot of absent fathers who are like, no, as long as my child is going to the best schools, but the child never ever sees the father because he's always working and whatever. And whereas when kids grow up, I mean, they don't. Yeah, they'll be like, thanks, okay, you took me to a good school and whatever, but the relationship that you have with your father is gone, because you've never gotten a chance to actually build that. So I think it's also striking that balance, you know what I'm saying? And that's how we also start changing this whole thing, so that there's people with fathers, but they don't have present fathers. Hence, a lot of us have, not a lot of us, I didn't have that, but a lot of men have sort of like absent males, or there's an absence of positive masculine, examples. Yeah.
And one of my questions in the context of raising not only girl children but future boy children, if you were to answer very simply today, what scares you the most about black masculinity, what would that be?
What scares me the most about black masculinity?
As it stands right now.
Yo, man, like, when you used to hear, somebody or about abuse,
Yeah.
especially when we were growing up, even in our 20s, like, Joe, that thing won't happen now. It's probably something that's dying. But it's becoming worse. It's becoming rife. You know what I'm saying? I mean, guys are becoming more violent, and it's people that you don't expect. It's people literally. You could be, partying with a guy, chilling with a guy. You're in a meeting with him. You're like, he's so kind, and then all of a sudden that yeah, at home he's a beast, or he ended up killing somebody. So for me, it's this. There's something wrong in terms of with what's going on with males, and I think also we're not having those conversations, you know what I'm saying? And that's what scares me, because my daughter's gonna grow, she's gonna date, and God forbid she dates somebody who's gonna do harm to her, yeah.
And for you?
I think what scares me most is not seeing how it's gonna change, or you know what I mean, not
Right.
knowing whether is it being the standard. Yeah, I think that's what scares me the most. Is it being normal, because we're at a point where it happens so much, so it's either it becomes normal, or there's drastic change. You know what, like any type of oppression, it's either you stay in it, you stay in slavery, you stay in apartheid, or there's movements that mara I can see change is coming. There's, you know what I mean, my fear is not seeing that. What we're seeing now is protest against it, right? And more people speaking out. But I'm not sure we're seeing the change.
Got you.
Change is not in no, but it's what's happening for these things already stop at some point. I think that's my fear.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time, joining us on this beautiful view. We're gonna have sundowners and chill out. Thanks so much for joining the show. Like, subscribe, share, and the conversation continues. Thank you, guys. Chap.